You're listening to the Legion of Reason.
So, welcome to the 198th episode of the Legion of Reason Diversion, or Lord, for March 17, 2017. In this episode, Christine and yours truly, the Supreme Irreverend Dr. Randy Tyson, are joined by superstar cosmologist Lawrence Krauss. Lawrence is director of the Origins Project at Arizona State University in Phoenix, where it's probably a hell of a lot warmer than here. Actually, it's actually a really good day for once. He's also involved with the Bulletin.
And it's March 18th.
Oh, you're right. It's March 18th. Oh, my gosh. I'm in a different time zone. He's also involved with the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists Doomsday Clock, recently set back to 2.5 minutes to midnight, and I think we'll talk about that for a little bit. In his quest to communicate science to the laity, he has published a number of books, including The Physics of Star Trek, A Universe from Nothing, and on Tuesday next week, the 21st, The Greatest Story Ever Told So Far, which attempts to answer the question, why are we here? Welcome back to the podcast, Lawrence.
It's good to be back. It's nice to be warmer than you.
Oh, yeah. It's actually really nice today for once. It's actually plus 17 in Celsius. I mean, you got to think Celsius up here. But I've been in Phoenix in the winter, and it's so much nicer down there.
In the winter. In the summer, you wouldn't want to be there.
No, that's true. I've only been there in the winter, and it's beautiful. I love it. Love the scenery, too. I love the scenery down there. So your new book is coming out. I think we'll talk about that first. Your new book is coming out on Tuesday. You're going out on a book tour, and you're going to be really busy with this. And it's already, close to a bestseller? Or is it a bestseller already before it's even out?
I don't know yet.
I saw a bestseller on Amazon.
Well, then it may be, indeed. Yeah, and I hope it is. In fact, this is the important week for people to buy the book, actually, because all the first week sales before it comes out get lumped in together for the first week sales. And I don't know if in Canada it's on sale like it is. For some reason on the American Amazon site, it's on sale for like almost 50% off this week. So until
really?
Book.
That would have been,
I hate to hurt Amazon Canada or whatever, but if Canadians can buy it on the American site, they should.
And they don't. Yeah, if you buy the hard copy, you can do it. You can go to Amazon.com if you buy that. But Kindle version, forget it. Yeah, they don't let you do that for some reason. I ordered it as soon as I found out about it. This is a sequel to A Universe from Nothing.
Well, it's not a sequel, it follows from it. The Universe from Nothing looked at our explored the revolutionary developments that have taken place in the last 50 years in understanding of the universe on its largest scales, and how it affected our understanding of one transcendental question, namely, why is there something rather than nothing? And this book looks at the revolutionary developments that have taken place in our understanding of the universe at its smallest scales, its most fundamental scales, and addresses the question, why are we here? In some sense, the Universe from Nothing talked about how you could get a universe literally from nothing by no supernatural shenanigans. And then this book looks at the question of how do you get, once the universe is there, how do you get everything that we see in our universe, including the laws and the forces that we measure, and basically point out how the amazing developments in the last 50 years demonstrate that it's just an accident.
It's been so amazing in the last even 20 years. When was it Perlmutter and his group and the other group? You said once that you were amazed that we would know the age of the universe by this in such a short period of time. And it's not only that, but the precision of the measurement is amazing.
Cosmology has become a precision science. It was largely guesswork when I was a graduate student and early researcher, and now it's become a precision science.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated by that.
Amazing. But then the revolutions that have taken place in our understanding of the fundamental structure of matter have been profound. From the time when I started as an undergraduate, just around that time was a time when we went from understanding one of the four forces in nature to three of the four forces. People often think that the first sort of 20 years of the 20th century, at least 1905 to 1925, were the biggest era with special relativity and general relativity and quantum mechanics. But in fact, as one of the things my book is about, is that the period from 1955 to 19 75 was perhaps even more dramatic, and maybe future historians will think so. And because we went from understanding one force of nature to three forces in 20 years, and understanding the fundamental sort of symmetries that guide the universe as far as we can see.
Now, Stephen Hawking wrote a book a little while ago, The Grand Design, and this is just coming to me now. That I remember, it's because something like gravity came into existence at the time the universe came into existence, that we have something that it cancels out the positive energy from matter and other forces is canceled out by the negative energy from gravity. Is that correct?
Yeah, essentially, once you allow gravity into the mix, then you can have zero total energy, because negative energy can cancel out positive energy, and you can end up with a universe of zero total energy, which is what our universe appears to be. A universe that still contains 100 billion galaxies, each containing 100 billion stars. So that was the content of my last book, the
Universe from Nothing. Yeah,
and this book is about how the universe that we see of those 100 billion galaxies is really an illusion, that at a fundamental scale, the laws of nature are not designed for humans. In fact, they wouldn't even accommodate life. It's only due to a cosmic accident that happened early on in the history of the universe, where some field froze in a certain configuration that made the forces appear to be what they are, and the particles that make up normal matter the way they are. So we're just here by a cosmic accident, and it's amazing how the universe we see is really an illusion. And I guess it's also amazing that we've come to that. Here we are in the middle of nowhere, and just by using the techniques of science and we've come kicking and screaming to understand the universe the way it is. It's a long and fascinating story of all the wrong turns and red herrings, and it's amazing that we've gone as far as we have. And I think it was a story that indeed is the greatest story ever told. It's probably the greatest intellectual journey humans have ever taken, and I wanted to celebrate it. And of course, the best part of it is the so far part, because that the story is getting better all the time, and it's unlike religion. The story is written down once; it doesn't change. Our story keeps changing and getting better and better all the time.
I was just going to say, I'll be curious to see how the intelligent designers take up this book.
They wish you would take off my book one way or another. Yeah, they'll. Yeah. I'm sure they'll decry it right away. At least I hope so.
One of the accusations was you didn't understand nothing. It was kind of weird.
Anyway,
yeah.
But they'll point out. Yeah, well, I can imagine lots of things that can be pointed out, but the story is amazing, and the book, and they'll probably be pissed because the title of the book, The Greatest Story Ever Told, and the framework of the book is there's three sections, one called Genesis, one called Exodus, one called Revelation. Maybe like that.
Well, that's So you're basically tweaking the religious nose a little bit there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, which is good.
I wanted to compare it to the claimed greatest story ever told so far, because this really is the greatest story. It's much more interesting, much more exciting, and full of surprises.
Yeah, well, reality is much more interesting than anything humans can imagine. I mean,
that's exactly true. The universe, the imagination of the universe, far exceeds our own. So, and we're celebrating that.
Well, quantum mechanics alone, I mean, it's beyond our experience. Nobody truly understands it because we don't experience it. We didn't evolve.
In this book, I try and take people from sort of everyday experience to the forefronts of physics by, starting with Plato and moving through electromagnetism and then the 20th century. And it's an amazing series of steps. But indeed, as my friend Richard Dawkins liked to point out, we didn't evolve to understand quantum mechanics. We evolved to understand how to escape lions on the savannah. And that's, quantum mechanics is counterintuitive, and it's very strange, and for good reason.
Yeah, I think a good book for people on quantum mechanics is Mr. Tompkins in Wonderland. Gamov's book, he was a little bit of a joker. Yeah, he was a bit of a joker, but that's an excellent book because it takes you through what happens if the speed of light was something where we experience normal, a normal day-to-day experience speeds, or if Planck's constant was large, or that kind of thing. And it's really interesting, the implications for everyday life. Yeah,
Asimov was a great scientist, and he was often, he didn't get as much appreciation, partly because he popularized so well, but he was responsible, among other things, in the original proposal of the ways to test the Big Bang.
Yes, he predicted the microwave background. He published that paper with Alfred and Bethe. He was looking for people. It's called the alpha beta gamma paper, and you know the alpha beta gamma. Everybody knows that.
They added Ralph Alpher. He wrote and beta. Ralph Alpher and him was a student, and they added Baines because they wanted alpha beta gamma. Yeah,
and it was. I actually went looking for that paper once, and it was actually published on April 1st in that year. So
I didn't know that.
So he got the ultimate joke on that one. Yeah, he was very interesting. So you're going on the book tour coming up this week. Where are you going, actually?
Oh, this week? Let's see. Well, I start in Phoenix. I'm actually in Portland, Oregon right now, but I'll start in Phoenix. I'll fly today to Phoenix, and then there tomorrow, and then I'm in Philadelphia on Monday, and New York on Tuesday, and Washington on Wednesday, and back in New York on Thursday, and then North Carolina on Friday and Saturday, and then Los Angeles on Sunday and Monday. Tuesday. Then I'll be
all over.
A few days break, then Seattle, and then up a few days later. Also in Portland, and then up to St. Louis. I'm sorry, St. Louis the weekend, and then Portland, and then Seattle. Yeah, and then eventually I'm making my way up to Vancouver.
Wow, that's quite the circuitous.
That's just the American version. Yeah,
the American version. It looks like it's going to be another New York Times bestseller. I think it's already doing well. I've seen on Amazon.
Well, I hope it'd be. I'd say a book I'm very proud of, and I think it really presents things that aren't well known among the public. And I think it is an amazing story. I really do think it. And in fact, writing it, the story became, in my mind, more amazing as the more I delved into it.
Yeah, that's like anything else. When you see things in concentrated form, you get you don't forget things. You see the whole picture at once, and it makes it a much more amazing thing. I was amazed. It's just off topic, but it was a book on the first Iraq War and all the trickery that went into George Bush's propaganda machine. And you see it. I remember in the individual incidents, but when you see them all together, it's like, wow, there's a lot of stuff here. That was just amazing that they got away with it, but oh well.
Well, wait and see what happens now. It's you always think it's the worst. I remember in Reagan, I thought it couldn't get worse. And then we got Bush, and I thought it couldn't get worse. So.
And then Bush 2, which was even worse, and now I don't want to say it can't get worse anymore.
It's hard to imagine.
You can't.
Hard to imagine, but yeah.
But we thought that was true with George Bush Jr. And it did get worse. It was amazing. So that's probably a good enough segue as any to you wrote an article in the New Yorker a while back. Bring it up here. It's Donald Trump's war on science, and mostly you were talking about climate change denial and how he was surrounding himself with those that agreed with him. And its effects.
And there's some very dangerous individuals now, some of whom are in government.
Yeah.
In fact, when I wrote that, I was hoping that. I mean, I was pointing out the concerns, but everyone said, "Well, it won't be that bad," but it turns out to be worse.
Oh. Well, I was just looking at the budget that just came out, and I mean the massive cuts to not just the EPA, which took a 30% hit. NIH took a 20% hit. There might not even be any new grants in 2018.
Yeah. Well, the field I'm in, particle physics, has taken a $900 million hit. I just wrote a piece. So if you take the total cut for the Office of Science, which, by the way, is the chief funding agency for all physical science in the United States, including particle physics. It's been cut, or it's been suggested to be cut by $900 million, 20% of the budget. Then you add to that the fact that he's zeroing out the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Endowment for the Humanities, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and the Institute for Museums and Libraries. You add all those things together, it's $1.6 billion in cut. Added to the budget was $2 billion for the first installment on building a wall in Mexico. So that's the interesting thing. So you take all of those things which are central to basically what is modern American culture and science and the infrastructure of our society, that really, as I just wrote, as the first director of the Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory said, when talking about Fermilab, and he was asked if it was in the defense of the nation, he said, no, it won't help the nation's defense, but it'll help keep the nation worth defending. And so that's the case. He's gotten rid of all the things that help keep the nation worth defending, so he can build a wall with Mexico.
I don't understand that.
And typical of the obscene idiocy and utter disregard, not only for reality but for people's well-being, that characterizes the administration in the United States right now.
Well, here's a quote that you made. I'm reading from the Scientific American here. Fundamental research dealing with climate change and the environment, nuclear weapons treaties, international relations, women's rights, health and welfare, and more generally public policy based on empirical reality, how all have been dealt a blow. The president-elect has expressed disinterest or disdain for the results of scientific analyses relevant for public policy, and the vice president-elect has been an open enemy of science. It remains to be seen how this will play out, but a Republican Congress seems unlikely to put many checks on this. You know, that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, Republican Congress is just even worse than one imagined. They're willing to put up with anything. And indeed, if you're talking about science, as bad as Trump is, and by the way, Trump is worse than I thought. I thought, Republican presidents have often, nevertheless, in spite of whatever they've done, they've often sort of funded big science. And the only science that Trump seems to like is NASA, is, putting people in space, because it probably seems like very showy for him. But all the rest has been cut. But Mike Pence is even worse. I mean, Trump is just an ignorant human being, and just a showman and a con artist, and a flim-flam artist, and will say and do anything, but he doesn't believe anything because he knows very little. But Mike Pence is, in some sense, more scary because he's a determined, rigid fundamentalist, anti-science, closed-minded, hateful individual.
Yeah, well, and anti-human rights, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, he spoke before Congress. You can go online and YouTube and watch him testifying that intelligent design should be taught in the classrooms. He's really certainly rigidly, not just anti-human rights, but such a fundamentalist that it governs all of his thinking. Wow.
Yeah, I've been saying that impeaching Trump would not be necessarily a good thing because of that, because of Pence, which is worse.
Well, it is, yeah. But Pence is a vicious creep, but he's not a lunatic. And I don't know which you'd rather have: an unstable, delusional, narcissistic con artist, or a creep. We've had creeps before. I don't know. I think the first step is Trump, and then maybe Pence can go too. So,
find a way.
But it's in my daydreams. We'll see.
Well, people are trying to imagine some way to impeach Donald Trump, but I don't know if necessarily yet he I don't think it might happen that way, or he might resign when he gets tired of it. But I really. I don't know. Yeah. Predicting anything in this climate is,
it's absolutely true. It's really amazing how things that you would have thought would not be possible are happening all the time. So I've given up that kind of thing. Well, I always say I never predict anything except for things 2 trillion years in the future, because no one will know.
things on very large scales that where everything averages out. On small, this is almost like a quantum scale of politics, right?
Well, it's just
things are fluctuating.
It's a lot easier. The universe. I do cosmology because it's easy. Well, easier than say biology. But the point is that the universe on large scales is relatively easy to describe and predict. And as I say, no one will be around anyway. But so it's a lot easier to predict what will happen in 2 trillion years than in 10 years.
Well, isn't that the irony that nobody, if you're right, nobody will be around to say he's right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's right. That's the whole point. In fact, in my new book, I point out it's even potentially worse than I point out in my last book, because now that we know the Higgs exists, it's possible that the Higgs field could melt and then everything we see could disappear. And then not only will, then all matter as we know it would disappear in the universe. And that's okay. By the way, if it happened, it would be a long, long time in the future, more than 2 trillion years. But it further reinforces the notion that we should enjoy our moment in the sun. That the universe not only wasn't created for us, it may not in the future allow anything like us, but that's okay. We're here right now, and we should really enjoy that. It's an amazing accident that has led to our ability to exist and have this conversation and appreciate the wonder of the universe. These are things we should. A purposeless universe is not any less awe-inspiring or wonderful. In fact, in my mind, it's more awe-inspiring and wonderful.
Yeah, because you don't have purpose imposed upon you, which we do have a demographic which has that, and we call them slaves. And that's what I keep saying.
Well, that's true. I guess we all, as Rousseau said, we all we're all born free, but we live forever in chains. So.
That's pretty dark for Rousseau. Actually, he was. I prefer his common good side of things.
Okay.
It's a little less dark. Well, it's kind of funny because I'm a bit of a Hobbesian person myself, so maybe I'm a little slight Machiavellian to it.
Yeah, I only refer to philosophers when I enjoy their quotes, but I don't ascribe to any.
Well, you've been known to diss philosophy, and it was funny because
my new book begins with Plato. The first chapter involves Plato, so there you go.
Oh, is that a sop to the philosophers?
That's how open-minded I am.
Well, we were talking with Stephen Law, and he actually has a fair bit of sympathy for your position because, philosophy as a method to determining objective truths in the universe, I'm not so sure is a great idea. I'm very anti-Aristotelian in that way, and of course I'm a scientist. I'm a positivist, right? I need evidence to actually support things.
I find myself as any ist, but I guess I mean, except maybe a scientist, but I guess because I'm too influenced by Groucho Marx that I really don't want to be a member of any club. I'm like that about television, actually. I never watched Twin Peaks until long after it was done because it was too popular. Nothing to do with science. For me for a long time for Game of Thrones, but I eventually succumbed.
Oh, did you? I tried. Nah, couldn't do it.
It's really beautifully done. Since I've been involved in movies lately, I've come to appreciate the production value.
Oh yeah, you were. I remember you were involved in a movie a little while back. Which one was that?
Movies, actually. Yeah, I've done a bunch of. Well, there was the movie about Richard Mee called The Unbelievers, and then which I produced, and then I've been in 2 movies recently by my friend Werner Herzog.
Okay.
One a fiction, and one that's coming out, I think, sometime next month. And then another one that came out called Lo and Behold, which is about the internet that's already been out, and that's a documentary that I'm in.
Well, you were tricked into one recently.
I wasn't. Was it? Yeah. Well, I agreed to do an interview, and then they just twisted what. Yeah. But that's some other movie that's not worth naming. But no,
yeah, I just found out about that.
Nonsense.
Yeah,
terrible. Werner's movie, Lo and Behold, is really worth seeing. And the new movie, Salt and Fire, I play a villain in, so I'm excited.
Oh, so you get to act?
Well, I guess I'm a significant character in that. We filmed it for a few years ago. And there's other people. Michael Shannon stars in it, who's a pretty good actor. And yeah, it's fun. I think I have the best lines, but anyway, people can decide.
How'd you work that?
Yeah. But the world premiere is at the Toronto International Film Festival, actually, early in the fall. So
oh, cool!
It was fun to go walk the red carpet there. It was neat.
Oh, well, that's you're broadening your horizons.
I like to try a lot of different things. Yeah,
yeah, I kind of like that too, and I like to do things. I've always found that I don't like to do things that I'm not good at, though. Kind of a weird thing.
Well, I think most people are that way, don't you?
Yeah.
I think most people are doing things and I didn't know about that. I'd never acted. Well, I guess in some sense I have, but I've never acted in a movie before. I've done a lot of films, and and that part made it a lot easier because I'm used to cameras being pointed at me. But I didn't know how the acting would go, and I was a little worried because they're really well-known actors in it, and I didn't want to screw it up for them. But Werner seemed to have faith, and it worked out great. So it was a lot of fun. I wouldn't want to make more than one movie a year, though. I think it's a lot of fun, but it's kind of like playing, and which is fun too. But I don't think it would. There are other things I want to do too. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Just to bring this back here, you're in the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. I didn't know this until I saw you on the news a couple of months ago after the Trump election, and you've went from 3 minutes to midnight to 2.5 minutes to midnight. Now, why did that happen?
Yeah, I've been the chairman of the board of sponsors of the Bulletin for the last 10 years or so, and which is a great honor because the first two were Albert Einstein and Robert Oppenheimer.
Wow.
But
yeah.
We moved it forward because we monitored the world's the threats of the existential threats of from emerging technologies and existing technologies, and we've been doing that for over 70 years. And when we looked at the world situation, there were a number of things. On the whole, things were getting worse. The derivative is what's really important. But of great concern to us was nevertheless that we said it before Donald Trump became. Well, we voted before Donald Trump became president. We announced it a few days after he became president. But his rather unsettling statements about nuclear weapons were and their possible use and proliferation were of great concern. And also Putin had been spouting some stuff. So we actions speak louder than words, but nevertheless words mean something. And when the incoming president of the United States says certain things that are greatly concerning about nuclear weapons, that was one factor. The other factors, of course, were the fact that the world that his administration, we've included climate change among the existential risks facing humanity. And it's rather interesting that the United States is the only country in the world that among the industrialized countries where one major political party denies the existence of climate change. It's really kind of shocking. And now that party happens to control Congress and the presidency and maybe the Supreme
and the
Court.
Senate. Yeah, that's the thing. That whole mess with the Supreme Court was just terrible. I mean, it's like, you can't put a nomination up in an election.
It was
criminal. Who says?
It was criminal. People should be. It's just literally was criminal. The people should have been removed from the Senate, as far as I'm concerned. They for dereliction of duty. It was the fact that it was allowed. It was the first step in what we're seeing now as an attack on democracy that started then. It probably started earlier, but it certainly was so reprehensible, and the fact that it was done with impunity is something everyone should be ashamed of.
I think this is part of the current of anti-intellectualism that is going on in the United States that is very strange. I mean, don't you want experts? I mean, you don't have to trust them implicitly. I mean, they can tell you why they're doing, what the evidence for this policy is. Why do people not like that? What's wrong?
Well, it's the problem. I mean, That's, there's a book about anti-intellectualism in the 1950s in the United States, so it goes back a long way, but and it ebbs and flows. But the fact that that's why I care about this. But scientists shouldn't be making public policy, but public policy should be based on empirical evidence, and scientists should provide that input both to the public and to politicians so they can make informed decisions, both for who to vote for and what policies to enact when they come in power. And it is really disgusting that and tragic, more tragic than disgusting, perhaps.
Yeah, well, the train wreck is happening in slow motion, right?
Yeah. Well, it appears to be. See what happens.
Yeah, that hasn't been a good start. I mean, with his first budget.
There'll be a march in Washington, in March for Science on April 22nd. I hope to be there in Washington, and we're working. This too shall pass. I don't want to leave your listeners feeling like the future is awful. The long-term future of the universe is awful, but the short-term is still hope. And so our job is to speak out and to resist and to try and educate and that's what I'm doing, and that's part of what the book is about too. Because the book really, although it's a story about physics in its most esoteric realms, perhaps has implications for our current condition, because it describes how the scientific method allowed physicists to cut through the illusion, the fabric of reality, the shadows of reality, if you wish, and scientists were biased and prejudiced about
humans.
But the scientific method overcomes that and allowed us in 500 years to get to the amazing point we're at now, as I talk about in the book. And the same techniques are necessary to cut through the alternative facts and the propaganda we're hearing. And the problem is that people think science is just a set of facts, but it's not. It's a process for discovering what the facts are. And so the moral from this book is that if we can unravel the mysteries of the universe, the same techniques can allow us to try and really see the truth, to see the emperor's new clothes and for what they are. And I'm hoping that to stress that implication of this book as well for the current political climate. So that's why I think it's also relevant for what we're experiencing now, as well as I think a fascinating history of a period of science that I don't think people know a lot about. Anyway.
Well, we got
maybe that's I don't know how much longer you want to go, but that might be a good time to end, because I've got to do some things today.
Okay, I'm gonna play something here that we have to pay the bills, and here we have a message from our sponsor. You should listen to this, actually.
Okay.
Here at my university, Trump University, the best university, the Department of Alternative Cosmology is repealing that awful loser Big Bang Theory, which is simply a disaster. Such a disaster. We're gonna replace it with the world's greatest cosmology, Big Bang Theory. Under Big Bang Theory, you will learn that I, Donald Trump, am the center of the universe, and that the universe is huge. After studying here, you'll know words, the best words. Trump University's Department of Alternative Cosmology has the world's greatest cosmology. Really, all my friends call me up just to tell me how great it is. Make cosmology great again. Bigly.
I apologize. That's the world's worst Trump imitation, but
that's all right. My friend Johnny Depp, if you haven't seen one before he was elected, Johnny did a great takeoff on Funny or Die, I think, online. And he did, I think, a 60-minute movie where he portrayed Trump in the RT. He did a great job.
I really like what's his name? Mark Hamill doing the tweets in the voice of the Joker, Donald Trump's tweets. It's really good. I don't know if you've seen those.
No, I haven't.
You gotta look it up. It's creepy. It's really creepy when it comes out in the voice of the Joker. Thank you so much for being on our podcast again, and we hope the book does so well. I've had, like I said, I've had it on order ever since I learned about it last year. I'm looking forward to it.
The way it's worth it, I hope. Yeah. And I hope maybe to get up there. I'll be up in Vancouver, not in Alberta, but I'll be in Vancouver and then in Toronto for the book. But that's also across the country.
We always get skipped over here in the prairies, so it's always Toronto, Vancouver.
Yeah, well, I don't know. So I've been up to, as Christine knows, I've been up to Alberta.
Yeah. We know that we've been there. We've been here. So that was actually the last one. But yes, thank you very much.
It was nice to talk, be with both of you virtually at least, and hopefully I'll get up there again sometime. You guys take care.
Okay,
thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Legion of Reason, coming to you from Calgary, Canada. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please consider reviewing us on iTunes. Music was provided by Dean Morrison and Graham Hill and used with permission.